Hey guys, just got done watching 2008's Pathology, and I've seen this a few times in the past. I used to own it on Blu-ray in England, and I then had to sell it obviously to come over here, so I bought the DVD for $2 from my local store, and I'd watched it again since I've been there, and then I thought, hey, I'll review it again, so I'd review it now. So it's it's one of those films where you can tell that it's a good film, but you can tell that a lot of stuff's borrowed from other films of the same kind of genre. But it's got a great cast in it. Milo Ventimiglia and Michael Winston, preferably, are really good, or should I say, Weston, are really good in this. I really, really like this film. I think it's a great film. So before I start babbling on, let's get on with who's in it. So they got Milo Ventimiglia, if that's right. I apologise for saying that wrong. Michael Weston, Alessia Milano, Lauren Lee Smith, Johnny Whitworth, John D. Lancey, May Melancon, Kerr O'Donnell, and Buddy Lewis. So basically, the film is about a highly intelligent, superbly skilled pathologist called Dr. Ted Gray, working for Dr. Quinton Morris as an intern, having graduated from Harvard, and he's basically drawn into a dangerous game with fellow pathologist Jake Gallo, sorry. And basically, he first meets him, it's the intern, he basically meets Ben Stravinsky, and Ben Stravinsky shows him about, and they kind of give him a bit the evil eye, the group, Jake Gallo's group, which consists of Juliet, Griffin, and Catherine. Mostly, anyway, because there's a couple of more people, I think, but you don't get names. So basically, they're giving the evil, especially when he kind of outsmarts one of them about the way someone died. So they kind of get a bit of the evils, and one of them runs into him and hits him, and tries to bully him. And you find out that Gallo and his friends bully Ben, who's not in the movie a lot, but he's in it around the movie, and he's important to the movie, and I'll get to that later. But basically, every time you see them talk to Ben, they make fun of him, and bully him basically. So basically, Gallo ends up saying to Ted, "Why don't you come out with us?" So they go out and they do this whole thing that they talk about. If you could, who would you kill? So they eventually ask Ted, and he goes, "Why? We're all animals, and basically we all want to kill, but we don't because we live in society and stuff like," which is quite true to a big degree. We've all got that killer instinct, but we've all kind of numbed down more because of society, because of the way we live. Back in the days before we had everything we had to kill constantly in order to live. So it's right. So then basically they leave him there, and he's a bit bitter about it, and he goes out with Jake again. Jake Gallo. And they go out, and basically Ted gets drunk. And he takes him to this place where he pays this big bouncer-like bloke $80 to go in there. And you see this, and it's a real bad place, like a real horrible area. I was going to say an S-hole, shithole. But it was. And so walking through, and there's this baby, like this little child, in a basically cot thing, and there's like this 60-year-old woman, prostitute, laying on the bed. It's really creepy. It's a really dark scene. And I really, really liked it, because I felt like the darkness of that scene brought out a lot in like your mind, especially when you're seeing it through Ted's eyes. It's like, ugh, you feel like going, because it's so horrible. So basically, so then they go away, and the next day, Ted goes to the school, and basically, the bloke's dead. The black bloke from before is dead. The only reason I say black bloke is because it's a big point in the movie, because they always say about being like, criminal record and all that stuff. And so they say he's dead, right? And obviously Ted, Dr. Gray, obviously thinks straight away, what? Dr. Jake Gallo killed him. So he goes on about his whole theory about he was drugged, he got stabbed 18 times and then shot in the head. And apparently that's not the case, but he thinks he did it. Well, it turned out that Jake did do it because he takes him down to the dungeon, which is like an abandoned area of the place where they are. And they play a game called Figure Out How This Person Died and How We Killed Them, basically. So they kill people and you've got to guess how they did it. And Dr. Ted Gray, he basically gets obsessed and he kind of gets addicted to it because the thrill of it, because he's enjoying it with them. And it's like one big party, you know. And that's when he gets with, let me make sure I get a name right. Yep, that's when he gets with Juliet, who's basically Jake's girlfriend, but she sleeps around with another woman, and she sleeps with him, and basically he gets attached to her, and Ted just kind of ends up having this big sexual fling with her. Now, he's engaged to Alicia Milano's character, Gwen, who at the beginning, he leaves for 3 months to do this. And he goes back and all this, and she says, I'm coming back with you, and then stuff just goes boom, boom, boom. She goes to one of the parties with him, and basically they get really out of hand, Jake and Juliet. But before I go into that, I forgot one part I want to talk about, because it's important. So he goes with Juliet, and she stops, and there's this bloke, this chubby older bloke who's like a beer belly, you know, like waste of space, they call him in the movie. Like a kind of, you know, lower human beings, even though I don't think anyone's lower than anybody else, you know. So basically it's supposed to be a low waste of space. So they go in and she says it's her dad and says that he likes molesting children. So her and Ted basically kill the bloke, and then Ted and her have sex right in front of the dead body. Now, I saw this in Sons of Anarchy, I saw it in this, and I just want to say, whenever this happens, I get very, very excited. I don't know why, but I get excited by it. You know, it's just like, whoa, yeah. Anyway, so they start having sex constantly, Juliet and Ted, around all these dead bodies all the time, and you're just like, sick thrill or what? But then you realise Juliet's so beautiful. She really, really charms the screen. So Alicia Milano's not in it a lot, and when she is, she looks quite good, but she hasn't got the screen presence of Lauren Lee Smith, who plays Juliet. It's like, wow, you know. So going back to where we were. So Gwen goes back home with him, back to his with him, and she starts going to like these parties with him, and Jake gets angry because Juliet's jealous because he's got Gwen with him, and he basically picks up 3 hookers and kills them and calls Ted, and Ted has to go there and figure it out. And then something really, really weird happens. Every time Ted explains, like, I'm talking, like, basically he says, this is how you killed this person, Jake goes like this, and you hear clapping, and people go, yay! So, you know Jake's kind of lost the plot, because he's imagining that he's like this gift. It's really, really weird. But gory, to a degree. Not very gory, but a little bit. You know, to me, gore's gore, but this isn't gore. It's more realistic. So, he leaves him after they have a big argument, and he goes home, and Juliet's there, downstairs, in like the lobby. So he's going to, what are you doing there? And she decides right there in the lobby she's going to take care of his little pee-pee with her mouth. Yep, she's going to take care of it. Pee. He ends up pushing her out of the way and going up to see Gwen. Well, Jake catches them and sees them that way. Yeah. Later on in the film, Juliet is laying on a slab. I'm guessing alive. I'm thinking she's just, you know, like drugged up. And Jake goes on about how they're going to get rid of Juliet and they're going to get rid of Ted. And one of them, I think they light up like a bong thing, a pipe, you know, and then it explodes. The whole room explodes. They go flying everywhere. But Jake lives, and he's got this big skull on his face like this, but he lives. And you're sitting there going, he wouldn't really live this, but he does. And he decides he's going to go and visit Gwen. This is the point in the film where I thought to myself, you know what, Gwen doesn't deserve this. She's been loyal, she loved Ted, she's been good to him, her father loves him, they're rich, you know, she didn't deserve this. So basically, Jake drugs her and kills her and lets her die within 7 minutes or something. And you're sitting there going, what a piece of crap. But at the same time, you think, but Ted tried to kill all of them as well. So he's not exactly innocent. He was just trying to clean up his mess. And you're like, but you're not innocent, Ted, so how can I feel bad for you when you've been doing all this stuff? All I felt sorry for was Gwen. So basically, he's shocked when he finds out that Jake wasn't killed in the fire. And he's also really angry that Gwen's dead. So you get Dr. Quentin Morris talking to him and going on about how someone's going to do the autopsy. And Ted goes, I'm going to do the autopsy. I've got the family's permission and it's my wish. So he does it and he says it's a certain way of death. So later on he's in the, you know, in the place where they do the studies, where they do the autopsies. And Jake knocks him out and has him tied up. And he goes, you can't figure it out how I killed your precious Gwen. And she didn't know the real you, did she, Ted? Because, Ted, you're a loser. And I beat you in this game of wits. And he basically starts laughing, Ted. And he starts explaining it to him, how he did it. And Jake's like, oh, yeah? And he goes, yeah. And then in comes Ben, doing the exact same thing to him as what he did to Gwen. Grabs hold of him from behind and basically drugs him and then cuts him open and stuff. And you're like, you go, Ben, you go. Because this was like the loser in the bully's point of view. Not in ours, because he was a great guy. He was nice, he was friendly. He always just wanted to chat. And he just felt like he was rejected. It felt like he was getting his own back on the bully by being there. And I really liked that. Because it showed that he manned up, as you say. So basically, it finishes right there. After they cut him open. It ends right there. Then we get this nice cool music. Now, the thing about this movie I found was it was quite exciting. The moment Jake and Ted see each other, you can feel that tension. Through the whole movie, you can feel the tension building between them. And you can also feel that whole, oh, I'm going to be better than you stuff. You know, like, I'm going to do you one up. I'm going to one up you constantly. You can't beat me and I can't beat you, but I'm going to try. The whole thing with Juliet was like they both owned her, but Ted didn't really care about her because he was more interested in Gwen, even though he was sleeping with her, which I thought was a piece of crap thing to do. And Jake got so jealous. He even says to Juliet at the party thing, I own you. And you're like, wow. But Michael Weston is a big reason why this film works. It's so awesome. It's over the top, as the character should be. And he really brings the character to life. Like, drugged up, power hungry, thinks he's the top of class, cocky, you know, believes he owns everything, can do anything he likes. I really like that about the character. I wish Alicia Milano had been in it more, but she wasn't. And she had a couple of sex scenes in the movie, but she wasn't naked. But Lauren Lee Smith was naked quite a few times, like 5 times. Not that that really matters to me, but some people it does. But Milo Ventimiglia, if I've got that right, I keep thinking I've said that name wrong, I probably have. He was pretty good in the movie. I like the thing, like when he walked up to him and go like this, you killed him this way. That was really good because it was really, really detailed. It felt like he knew it. That's what I liked about character. He actually felt like he was a pathologist. I like that. It just felt good. The whole thing was very good. Now, some some might think it's a bad film because it has got some elements of anatomy, the German films, in there. Some elements. And you can tell that this is kind of like an American version, but different in some ways. Like they've mixed it up a bit. So it's not as gory or as the same, but it's, if you know what I mean, it's, what's the word? It's all right. Now, I won't recommend this to everybody because I like the idea of thinking that this is a more mature kind of thinking psychology kind of film. And it is and it isn't, but that's my view on it, to be honest. I like the film. I think it's very good. I think there's a lot to it. And I think it does a good job of pointing out what it points out. But the best killers would be psychologists because they could get away with it if they wanted to. And I think that's a good subject because you don't really hear of that much in movies. It's always a unidentified slasher, a ghost, a demon, but it's never things where they can actually be something scary, like a forensics person, you know? So yeah, overall, it's a really good film. I highly enjoyed watching it again. And it's one of those films that I feel like I could watch again and again and again. Every now and again. Like, I could probably watch it once every 3 months. And with a lot of movies, I feel like I can't do that. So yeah, I'd give it a 4 because, like I said earlier, I highly enjoyed it. I felt the acting was good. I felt the story was pretty good. And I like the whole, I'm going to beat you, the mind of the wits, the battle of the wits, you know? And the tension between the two male leads was great. So, 4 out of 5. I recommend giving it a watch if you haven't. Some people might not like it, but some people will. That's the way of the world. Nobody likes everything. But I really like it. And I'd like to say thanks for watching, guys. Have a lovely day. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And let me know what you think of Pathology down below. Thanks for watching, guys. And take care.